Hey, really nice job. Last one, great.
I think.
Running through the tape. Oh, Right, like that's it's a trend then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't know anybody.
Yeah,
You did great. You sold it.
That's well.
Great, and these. That's daily. After yeah, 2 years. It's a simple one. It's just a new. Yeah, I think good vision. Right. And. Yes. Right. It's a different. It's good. Right.
You know, things like having a conversation about animals and synergy. Yep. Eight. Because 90% of the actually answered the synergy if people were building data or anything like this. Yeah.
Good evening. Thank you guys for joining us. Sorry, we were running just a few minutes behind. We had a really good work session before this and we just need to take a short recess, but we are here. So I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:10 and we are going to rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join us.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We have such a full house tonight. It's nice to see you guys and we have so many things to celebrate tonight. Our first order of business is to review the consent agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, I move that we adopt the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second.
Wonderful. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. Motion carries 5-0. All right, next up is our section titled Spotlight On. This evening, we're going to start with Katie Hartman as she recognizes our spring champions and heroes. Or I guess it says honorees, but really heroes is fine too.
Board Chair Hawkins, Superintendent Lyon, and Board of Directors, thank you for having us here tonight. Spring sports is a busy time at the high school, and so I will go through and highlight just a little bit of what I think y'all have in front of you. Our baseball team, first in league, they made it to the quarterfinals of state playoffs. We had a coach of the year for the conference, Nate Hickok. We had conference player of the year, Nick Gribble, pitcher of the year, Nolan, and many other players get all league honors. Our softball team, first in league, they made it to semifinals. A lot of those players also got some all league mentions. We'll talk more about softball in a minute because Cam's here. Boys track and field, first in dual meet, second at the district meet. They got 7th in state. A lot of them got all league honors as well. Many of them were state placers. We'll go into more detail because Austin's here on that. Our girls track and field, first in dual meets, first at the district meet. T. Smith was conference coach of the year. Many of our athletes got first team, second team, honorable mention, and we had 1 state placer for girls track and field. Our boys golf team, first in league, 7th at state. Josh Pratt was conference coach of the year. Tiger Liu took 3rd at state. He's a freshman, which is pretty cool. Many of the golfers got first team and second team honors. Our girls golf team, first in league, 9th at state. Campbell O'Connell got conference player of the year, and many of those players also got all league mention. Boys tennis, they're a growing team. They got 4th in league, 4th at districts. And we had 1 doubles team and a couple other players get second team all league. Our girls tennis team, again, really strong, first in league and first at the district meet. Roxanne Embry got conference coach of the year. We had some first team all league players, some second team all league players. They did a great job again. Boys lacrosse, second in league. They made it to the second round of the championship bracket. Many of those players were awarded first and second team honorable mention. And then girls lacrosse, second in league. And again, many of those players also got first team all league and some honorable mention. I feel like a broken record that a lot of our athletes are awarded and a lot of our coaches are awarded for their stellar performances. So let's talk about these 2 awesome athletes that we have here with us. First is Cameron Knight. She is one of the captains from the softball team. They made it to the semifinals. They took 3rd in state. It's the farthest the softball team has made it in the school history. So we're really proud of that. Cameron is the center fielder for the team and one of the captains. This team has no seniors, so the entire team returns next year. Cameron, what I love about watching her play is when there's an out, Cameron has this cool twirl thing she does in center field. And I think it's part of, like a ritual or something like that, that she does in high fives. It's cool. So we're extremely proud of that team. Coach Morris has done a great job of building that program. So great work, Cam. Next over here is Austin Milton, and he is a part of the boys track and field team. And Austin took first in the javelin at the state meet. What was the winning throw? What was the distance? 194 feet through the javelin. And you also took in discus, what? 5th at state. So, and then that helped the boys track team take 7th overall at state. And Austin is headed to U of O next year, correct? So we are extremely proud of him and his leadership, and watching him at the state track meet. He is calm and cool and collected when he gets up there to throw, like usually a big smile on his face. So extremely proud of him and all the work he's done for the track program. So that's it for Spotlight on Sports. Thank you again for having us and letting me come and talk about our teams and our coaches and our athletes. That's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. And I know what you're saying about a broken record. I mean, we've heard this several times during Spotlight, and you can almost start to wash over you all these awarded students and athletes. It's pretty incredible to have that many great athletes in our district and the amazing coaches and the sports programs we have here. So truly, we wish all of you guys so much success, and we are so proud of you. Even those of you that are at home, we are also very proud of you. So I will excuse you guys. You do not have to stay for the remainder of the night if you do not wish to. We know the night can get pretty long, but we will move on to our next Spotlight on, and I'm going to welcome Steve Emmert to the podium to get us started off on that.
Congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
Well, good evening, Board Chair Hawken, Board, and Dr. Lyon. Tonight, other than hiring new people, this maybe is my favorite part of this job, my favorite part of the year. We have the privilege tonight of honoring some people who have been with the district for quite some time, and they are retiring at the end of this school year. We have 9 people retiring. One couldn't be here tonight because one of his sons is graduating. And so Dale Garacki, who's part of our maintenance department, won't be joining us. The other 8 will be here tonight. As much as I would love to personally honor and maybe embarrass some of these people, I'm going to refrain and let their building principals speak of them and honor them. And so with that, just thank you, all of you, for the years of service you've given to the Sherwood School District, for the impact you've made in the lives of kids and your colleagues. You'll be missed, and we wish you the best as you move into this next stage of life. With that, I'll introduce Patrick Shuckrow, who will honor his retirees.
That's perfect. Well, good evening, everyone. It's an honor to share about these 3 incredible educators. I'd like to start with Miss Tara Rice, who I'll call the anchor of our first grade team for the last 21 years. Tara started her career in 1989 teaching first grade at Tualatin Elementary. She taught for 5 years there before making the difficult decision to leave teaching to focus on being a mom to 2 boys. She had no plans to return to the classroom. Well, lucky for us, Tara's plans changed. In the fall of 2001, Tara, I imagine, was minding her own business, getting ready to send her boys to kindergarten and first grade in a few short days, when she got a phone call from Archer Glen's principal. She had been known at that time as an exceptionally competent and responsible parent volunteer who just so happened to have exactly the kind of teaching experience Archer Glen was looking for, and probably most importantly, the wherewithal to get a classroom ready in a few short days. As they say, the rest is history. Tara taught kindergarten that year. The next year, she moved to the first grade, where she spent the next 21 years. Wow. Here's what I don't need to tell you about Tara, because it's clear the moment you meet her. She is kind and she is a loving person. She has a quick smile and a quick laugh. She is engaged and she is engaging. She is the kind of person who seems to be rooting for you in every conversation, like right now. Thank you, Tara. Yeah, thanks. But here's what you learn about Tara when you get to work with her. She loves her students. She loves her students in such a way that is warm and encouraging, but also eager to see their growth. Tara loves teaching and she loves learning. She said it best in one of her final reflections. This is my last year teaching, and I know I'm still learning. I truly am blessed to be in a profession where I continue to learn and grow in different ways every year. Wise words. Well, this is true. The profession gives. It gives us the opportunities to grow, to become someone who gives, who listens, who learns, who makes a difference like you have. But it's not just the opportunities, it's the person who takes them. Tara, you put your whole self into this job, and we are so grateful to have been a part of it. Congratulations, Tara. Next up is our dear Sandy Emmert, an admin assistant extraordinaire at Archer Glen for the last 14 years. Before Sandy became Archer Glen's admin assistant, she did all sorts of things. I'm going to do the whole list. She worked in office positions for Coca-Cola and what is now Corbin University. She devoted herself to raising a family and 10 years directing preschool ministries at church. Once the kids were in school, she joined them and spent 11 years as a special education IA and then 3 years as a registrar in the counseling office. The move to Sherwood put her into a secretarial position in the district office for another 3. All of this, the front office experience, the leadership, the years directly supporting students and raising a wonderful family, they prepared Sandy to do the incredible work that she's done at Archer Glen. When I think of Sandy, I think of 3 things: work ethic, integrity, and joy. Sandy has an unquestionable work ethic, the kind of work ethic that is heavy on the ethics. Because when Sandy gets to work, it's more than just getting things done. It's a part of her character. And what I've come to realize are acts of service and selflessness, values I know that run deep. Over the last 2 years, I've benefited from this more than most, but maybe not in the ways that you'd expect. Certainly the organization, the follow through put me at ease and made our school better. But the true benefit is in knowing Sandy, seeing her work every day for others. Sandy is a person of the highest integrity. I would call her my front office partner in crime, but I don't think she'd accept that title. She was always honest and always does the right thing. Sandy is always sharing joyful moments, and she finds joy in a lot. Serving others, first and foremost, being outdoors, black licorice and chocolate cake, I hear. Lounging by a pool, but also working in her yard. She finds so much joy in her grandkids and in her family. And believe it or not, she thinks Steve is hilarious. And when he's not, she finds the humor in how funny Steve thinks he is. Sandy has brought so much laughter to the front office. We're going to miss that. And we've all learned, by the way, that when Sandy gets going, there's really no stopping it. You just have to back away and let her tire herself out. Sandy, you have given these gifts to us. Your service and selflessness, your integrity, your joy. We are a stronger community because of you. Sandy, congratulations. Oh boy, the one we've been waiting for. The one and only Kim Yago, Archer Glen's instructional coach for the last 16 years. Kim started her career in 1988 teaching 1st and 2nd grade at Yamhill Elementary in Yamhill, Oregon. After brief stints on the East Coast and in California, she made her way back home to Oregon and finally, in 2001, to Sherwood, where she taught 1st grade at Hopkins Elementary. In those 6 years teaching at Hopkins, her reputation grew, a reputation for excellence, for her dedication to always growing, always learning, and her ability to somehow make every group that she belongs to better. She was the clear choice to become one of Sherwood's first instructional coaches in 2007, a position she has faithfully served in ever since. Kim's impact over these 22 years in Sherwood, the last 16 as coach, are immeasurable. As one of many examples, each of the 4 current elementary principals have worked directly with Kim, have been mentored by Kim. We all come out of the school of Kim Yago. That tells you something. It tells you that Kim is the type of person who empowers others to be the best that they can be. Her success is your success. But she's not just there to celebrate with you when you succeed. She is there before you succeed. Before you have the answers, she lets you ask the questions. Before you can do it yourself, before you can do it yourself, she does it alongside you. Before you believe in yourself, she believes in you first. I can't think of a better definition of a coach and mentor. The joke this year has been that this is Kim's year of truth. The year where she laid it out all on the line and told us exactly what she really thought of us. Well, I'd like to return the favor. But I don't have a year, I have but a moment. So let's all just agree to call this Kim's moment of truth. The truth is, Kim Yago, you are without a doubt a marvelous educator. You have changed the lives and careers of so many in the Sherwood community. I, for one, am a better educator in person because of you. You are one of the great ones, Kim, and we're going to miss you. Congratulations, Kim. Have a card for you, a card for you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce Millie Wilkinson from Middleton Elementary.
Why do I always have to be after Patrick, man? I'd like to invite Nancy Blake up as well to join me. Tonight, I have the great honor to speak about a well-respected teacher, Nancy Blake. Nancy started her teaching career in 1985 in the Eugene School District and began her tenure in Sherwood as a substitute in 2004. The following year, she was hired as a first grade teacher at Middleton, where she remained for the last 18 years. I've been fortunate to work alongside Nancy as both a teaching colleague and now as her principal. She's the kind of teacher that fosters a love for learning and supports students in reaching their potential. The type that engages in a 40-hour letters training in her final year of teaching because she wants to do the very best for her students. She's the teacher whose classroom is full of former students in the morning because they want to give her a hug or say hello. Nancy is a teacher that students remember well into their adult years as the one who believed in them. Her impact at Middleton extends beyond her students. She's a valued mentor, confidant, and advocate. Her colleagues described her as, quit peeking, consistent, knowledgeable, and caring. You can look, a kind friend and a great listener. An absolutely integral part of not only my own children's ability to read, but their love for reading as well. Someone of high integrity. She actually washes her recycling in the dishwasher before she puts it in the bin. A teacher that sets high expectations for her students and teaches with endless love and encouragement. A rock for so many staff members over the years. An outstanding leader and mentor, truly one of the best teachers. I also had an opportunity to learn about Nancy from the perspective of her current and former students. They had some interesting reflections and learnings as well. Mrs. Blake is very sweet and she's always nice to us. Mrs. Blake taught me how to read. And it's worth noting that a ton of students mentioned that in particular, which is a big deal. She was a fun teacher. Mrs. Blake was always so joyful and taught things well. She taught me math and helped me practice my adds and subtracts. And my favorite, Mrs. Blake taught me how to stand in a very straight line. Nancy has fun plans for retirement. She and her husband Russ are moving to Bend and adopting a puppy to train as a service animal to work with children in hospitals, libraries, or schools. And Nancy also plans to tutor and volunteer at a local elementary school and spend time caring for her elderly parents. It's really no surprise that she'll continue to serve and bless her new community. As we wrap up this year and reflect on the many years of amazing service Nancy has given to the students of Sherwood, I know I speak for many when I say that I'm grateful that Nancy picked our district as her home. As she heads into retirement, her former students have some sage advice for her. Bake a lot, read, and eat lots of cookies. Try some new recipes with all of that extra time you have on your hands now. Go on a vacation, take a break and spend time with your family. But one student captured our wishes best when she said, Mrs. Blake should really take time for herself and do the things she likes because she's a really good teacher. I couldn't agree more. Thank you, Nancy, for the gift you've given to Middleton students for so many years. You're an outstanding educator, colleague, and friend, and we're lucky to have you as a part of the Middleton family. And we wish you all the best in this next chapter of your life and hope you enjoy a well-deserved retirement. And I'd like to introduce Miranda Johnson to acknowledge the retirees from Ridges.
Thanks for humoring me. I'm going to let them situate themselves just perfectly. All right. Good evening, Dr. Lyon, Board Chair Hawkins, and Board of Directors. It's an honor tonight to celebrate our 3 retirees from Ridges. I will start this evening by celebrating Sherwood's very own Miss Valerie Potter. Valerie earned her undergraduate degree in child development and a special education master's from Cal State Northridge in Southern California. Her first resource special education teaching job was in 1998 at Santa Paula High School in Ventura County, California. She then moved to a larger school, Aurora High School, as their autism specialist for the next 8 years. In 2008, Valerie found her love for teaching at the elementary level, and she's been there ever since. Teaching in Fillmore, California, Amity, Oregon, before being hired in Sherwood in 2018. This year completes Valerie's 25-year teaching career, and we feel so blessed to have had her as a special part of our staff. During her time in Sherwood, Mrs. Potter has been known to learn new coding skills along with her kids in STEM, to wear matching shirts with her coworkers at Middleton, to share a Dr. Pepper with her principal when she needs it the most, and to spend countless hours building meaningful relationships with each of her students. When visiting with some of those students, they shared that they love Mrs. Potter for the following reasons. They like to give her hugs, and she also hugs us back too. She is a great teacher. She lets us have desk pets. She only says no sometimes. She is the best teacher in the world, and she really cares about us. Valerie has been an important part of our school district and has no doubt positively impacted many students in her career. Her dedication to support special education students is a true reflection of her character and her willingness to make a difference in the lives of others. We will definitely miss having Valerie at Ridges next year, but we are excited for her new adventures in Tennessee, and even more excited that she has invited any of us to come visit anytime we want. Congratulations on an outstanding career and all the best in your future endeavors. All right. Next, I would like to honor Miss Karen Eckhart. Karen completed her undergraduate elementary degree at George Fox College in 1988 and her master's of special education, deaf and hard of hearing at Lewis and Clark in 1989. From there, Karen supported multiple education programs for the deaf and hard of hearing, and she was also an instructor for American Sign Language at both Portland Community College and George Fox College. In 2001, Karen was hired to teach kindergarten at Archer Glen. Starting in a half-day program, Karen later piloted full-day kindergarten, and she's been there ever since. 2009 brought the opening of Edie Ridge and a move to a new school, and now Karen will spend the next 2 weeks cleaning a classroom full of 22 years of kindergarten things. I have given her a little extra time. Not the furlough days though, Jim. Karen was one of the first teachers I met when I was hired at Archer Glen, and I will always remember her willingness to share her support and advice anytime I asked. Working with Karen again when I moved to the Ridges, I have found her to be someone that I can always joke with, and I still tease her today about her dislike for my group games at staff meetings. When visiting with other staff at Ridges, they shared that Karen is the kind of person that fills a room with her bright light. She is funny, charismatic, and many commented on the fact that her nails always look amazing and she has the best shoes. It was also shared with me that sometimes Karen's social, friend to all nature has resulted in reminders to be a little less social during staff meetings. In fact, I learned today that all of Karen's principals, maybe me included, have at one point or another asked her to sit away from her friends at staff meetings and save her relationship building for other times. It is that willingness to connect, to be a friend to everyone, and to support others that makes Karen so special, though, and we will miss having that in our building next year. It is evident that Karen has made a lasting impact on our Ridges family and the lives of countless Sherwood students over her career. I also have no doubt that many of her kindergarten traditions will be carried on by her team for many years to come. Karen has been a bright light at Ridges for the last 14 years, and we wish her many days full of rest, relaxation, and 0 morning alarm clocks. Thank you for your dedication to our students, for being such a special part of our Ridges family. We will miss you next year. All right, last but not least. Finally, tonight, I would like to celebrate our Ridges media specialist, Ms. Tammy Moore. Tammy started her career as a travel agent, a job she held for 18 years until the events of September 11th resulted in many changes to the travel industry and the layoff of her position. Thankfully for us, Tammy then began to sub for the Canby, Westland, Wilsonville, and Sherwood school districts in early 2002. Later that year, she was hired as a special education IA for Sherwood, and she has been a part of our district ever since. Tammy has held a variety of classified positions in our district, but 13 years ago, she was hired as the media coordinator at SMS, and the transformation process in 2020 provided her with the opportunity to join our Ridges Elementary family as our elementary media specialist. During her time in Sherwood, Tammy has worked for 4 superintendents, 6 principals, and 11 assistant principals. One thing that has been special for us at Ridges is that Tammy has led her students in writing positive notes, known as toodles, for our staff throughout the year. To celebrate her retirement, the students she supports this year have been writing toodles to Mrs. Moore, and I am excited to share those with her tonight. I would like to share one special toodle that reads, "Dear Mrs. Moore, I know that you have worked for a very long time as a librarian, but I will miss you so much when you retire. There is just always something I love about going to the library in the school and getting just 1 or 2 extra books that I was technically not supposed to get. And having you laugh a little and tell me that I read so fast, of course I could get those extra books. Mrs. Moore, you have been the best librarian that has ever lived and ever will. And when you leave, I will miss you, and I will wish that you were here, and I will always remember you for forever." As a final reflection of her goal this year, Tammy wrote a SMART goal for the future, and I would like to end tonight by sharing that with you. Tammy's SMART goal for the future: live life to the fullest while enjoying retirement. S for specifically. Specifically, Tammy plans to both relax and be active, allowing her to enjoy all aspects of retirement life. M for measurable, measured by her Garmin watch that will tell her that her stress level is very low. A for achievable, achievable by going to her cabin, kayaking, reading, hiking, golfing, and volunteering, hopefully at Ridges. R for relevant, relevant to life in general by stopping to enjoy the simple things around her. And T for time. Time to complete this goal is on day 1 of her retirement and every day forward. Tammy, we are grateful for all you have done for our district and the positive impact that you have had on those around you. We congratulate you on your retirement and wish you the very best in achieving every part of your retirement SMART goal. Next up, I would like to introduce Mr. Adam Mitchell to honor our SHS retiree.
All right, thank you for having us here tonight. Board Chair Hawkins, Superintendent Lyon, Board of Directors, and District staff. It is my distinct pleasure to be able to honor Tracy Vavrosky, or Vav, which is all I've ever referred to him as, on his upcoming retirement. First, go Beavs. Go Beavs. You may not be able to find a bigger Oregon State fan than Vav, and it's one of the things that makes him special. Vav came to education as a second career, starting at Sherwood High School as a student teacher, and then spending the next 20 years teaching business classes with our students. When I started at Sherwood High School 6 years ago, I was given the opportunity to supervise the Career and Technical Education Department, in which Vav is part of. In one of my first chances to meet the staff, Vav introduced himself to me and invited me to visit his classroom anytime I wanted so that he could help me learn more about education at the high school level. I still go to his classroom when I need to reset myself by seeing good teaching and kids working hard. His classroom has always been one of inclusion and engagement, and Vav constantly finds ways to teach consumer preparedness and financial literacy to all his students in a way that gets them excited. In addition to his classes, Vav has also supported many students through the years by coaching baseball, running our student store, and advising our FBLA chapter. Anyone who knows Vav appreciates his kindness, his genuine concern for others, and him being a story guy. Both in his classroom and in the hallways with students and staff, Vav was always connecting with people through storytelling. This trait was incredibly effective as a teacher due to his ability to use the stories to bring his curriculum to life and link the content to the real world. So I'd like to tell a quick story that illuminates who Vav is as a person. About a month ago, my wife, Amy, and I were fortunate enough to be invited to Vav's retirement/birthday party with many of his family, friends, and colleagues. Amy had met Vav briefly before, but this was the first time she was able to spend a significant amount of time around him. We were lucky enough to get to sit at Vav's table for dinner and have some conversations with him, his wife, and his children. After dinner, Vav's family began some speeches about him, and Vav even got up to talk a little bit as well. When all the festivities were done, Amy and I began walking out to the parking lot, and she said to me, "That was fun. Vav sure seems like he is a very nice and kind man." And to me, that says it all. Vav is an incredibly nice and kind man, and that is how he very successfully educated Sherwood High School students for 20 years. Thank you, Vav. We appreciate your strong work, your dedication to our students, our school, and our district. Enjoy your retirement that I know already has lots of plans of golf and travel. On behalf of many, many people, it's been an honor to work with you over the years. Congratulations. Let's all have one big more round of applause for all our retirees.
Oh my goodness. Thank you guys all for coming. What a tremendous thing to get to the end of your career and be able to retire. I mean, I'm so inspired to listen to your stories. I know so many students in our district have had incredible chances to connect with you all and learn from you all and grow from you all. And it's hard not to sit here and not feel so incredibly fortunate for all of our students that they get to have teachers like this in their life every single day. So thank you guys. We congratulate you. I'm sure you will have an amazing retirement. And I get to finish off our day today. We have two directors who are going to be leaving us after this evening. Jessica, I really got to know you best this year. And I can tell you, I would never, ever want to head up another campaign again in my life. But if I had to, I would only do it if you were my partner. You are smart and wise and kind and generous and just so incredibly helpful to everyone who asks that of you, truthfully. I mean, I know that the students in this district do not know all the things that you have done. You're gonna make me cry. Stop looking at me. I know, I know that the students in this district truly don't know all the things that she has done for their kids. I mean, the conversations. You've spent over a decade really focused on what's best for these students. And being the most senior member of our team, there are so many times that I have come to her and said, what do we do? What should we do? I mean, you're kind of our guide, right? Like, talk to me. And every single time, she always brings me back down to a place of, well, let's see what's best for all of our kids. What's best for the most students? What's best for our teachers? What's best for our community and our district? And I honestly, I would say I'm going to miss you, but the reality is I know I'm going to call you. So you guys are going to miss her, but I am going to call her all the time because she has told me that I can. And so I will. So it is my honor to thank you for your service in this district. I know Sue Hecker has joined us tonight as well to come and say some things to you, but truthfully, we are so appreciative of your service. We cannot replace you, but we are so grateful. While we cry, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Sue Hecker.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the emotion. I appreciate it. I just want to say thanks for the opportunity to come here tonight. I appreciate you inviting me to honor Jessica. And it is really wonderful to see so many familiar faces again. So thank you all for being here. I've known how I was going to start this for a very long time. So Jessica, I just like to start by saying thank you for raising my taxes. Not just once, but 3 times.
You are welcome.
Yes. But in all seriousness, it is a good thing. It's one of the things I actually am okay with paying taxes on. And with that, I'll go into the first time I met Jessica. She joined the 2006 bond campaign committee and long time ago. And there's a memory that stands out during that time. Aside from our vast experience, there was one occasion where she couldn't find childcare. We were at the YMCA with our meeting and Jessica was presenting on something. And I think Sam was somewhere between 1 and 2 at the time. And it was a little hard to focus on what she was saying because he had managed to wriggle out of her arms and was climbing all over her. But Jessica just continued unfazed to get everything done that she needed to. And to me, that moment really says it all about Jessica. For the last 12 years on this board, Jessica has continuously worked unfazed for the whole education community. She's supported to help sustain programs that are unique to the Sherwood experience that reach and engage kids. Performing arts, STEM, Bowman House, culinary arts, trades, art programs, just to name a few. And during her tenure as a school board member, Jessica has shared her wealth of knowledge regarding all things Salem. Although there were times we certainly didn't like what she had to report, it was always helpful to have a pulse on that information. And undoubtedly, she has been an unwavering voice for kids' education and the Sherwood community at both the local and state levels. Another area of excellence for Jessica is her words. She's a brilliant writer. She's able to put pen to paper and get the exact point across beautifully. She has a real knack for striking the right chord, at least most of the time. Along those lines, another great attribute is Jessica's willingness to speak her mind, even when it isn't popular or comfortable. Jessica always stands up for kids, education, and what she believes in without question. As I reflect on my friendship and time spent on the board with Jessica, there are a few other things that stand out. Her support of all things band, demonstrated over many weekends and during halftime at football games. We all know the band is phenomenal, but so are the parents. Band parents are supportive in so many ways, including their quick feet during halftime to get everything on and off the field in a very limited amount of time. Other memories of Jessica include the longest graduation in history in 2020. Not only was it hot, but it was strenuous as we jumped and cheered in the very hot weather. But thankfully, the reviews were amazing and our sunburns that were so terrible were still worth it. We've shared a myriad of experiences for many years as Sherwood board members. I can say the district is a better place because of Jessica Adamson.
She's been behind the scenes, supporting and building the district for students, staff, and community. Her work has quietly built buildings and graduated kids. It was well-deserved that she was able to hand her children, Thomas, Cosette, and Sam, their diplomas at graduation. I know that is such a highlight for the entire family. I would like to thank her family, Stephen, Thomas, Cosette, and Sam, for their sacrifices, their campaign work, and support of Jessica for so many years. I have to add that that toddler that wriggled out of his mother's arms so many years ago is a world champion winter percussion member. What a highlight to bring that win home to Sherwood after such a tumultuous time. Jessica, it's only fitting your tenure serving Sherwood is bookended with campaigns. Thank you for your service. You did it.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Up next, I'd also like to recognize Director Lee. You know, you joined our board when you already knew it was a difficult position to join. When you applied for the position, it was well known that it was hard to be on the school board and it was controversial and it was a tough seat to sit in. Not a ton of people applied and it was hard to convince people that this was work that was worth doing and work that they might be interested in doing. So while I know that every time you say something, it may not always be the most popular opinion, or you may have difficult questions, you have really been bold and brave and put yourself out there. You have taken a ton of time to research things that you think are important to our students and to our families. And we really appreciate all the time and energy you've put into this role. So thank you very much for your service to our school board. Let me get back over here. Okay, we did not plan a break, but I would love to take just a quick pause and allow people to say congratulations and thank you and depart if they would like to before we move on. So if it's okay, we'll just take a quick 5-minute break and allow people that moment and we'll be right back. Thank you. All right, we are going to go ahead and come back from break and continue on with our meeting. Thanks for letting us take a quick break. We're going to start off with our report section for the night, and I'll let Dr. Lyon start us off.
Thank you, Madam President. It was a year ago, pretty much to the day, that I sat in this room for the first time and became the interim superintendent. And I just want to take that moment to thank all of you as the administrative team and the community members for welcoming me into the community. Like I've said many times, I knew of Sherwood, but I really didn't know Sherwood. And it's really proven to be more than I could ever have imagined. I'd also like to thank the board for welcoming me into this enterprise. And when we reflect on the year, of course, the success of the levy kind of puts the big stamp on this year. But really, honestly, I think the thing that I'm most proud of to be able to work with this team and collaborate on was how we preserved the integrity of the year in light of the financial woes that we were facing for our students. And I saw it every week, every day, all over the place. The kids in our school district have really had a great year. They've had a year that they will look back on, and it's not going to be marked about how this was a troubling year or this was the year of. It was a school year, and a really, really good one. The fun runs returned, the carnivals returned, the athletic success we had, this world-class band program, the teaching and learning in our classrooms was phenomenal. And it is, and you see tonight with the recognition of the retirees, what a great business we are in. What a great business we are in. It is such an honor to work with the teacher who teaches students to read and leaves an impact on those students' lives forever. It's really, really amazing. So I just want to say thank you. And I think for me, the biggest celebration this year is, wow, did we have a great year for our students? That's really, really something. The levy was, I think back to the rally that we had a year ago, we had on the slide, bullet 4. Boy, we missed on some of them, but we got some right. And that fourth one was Sherwood Strong. And for the levy, you saw like a chain, this community link everybody, the staff of our school district, the parents, the students, everybody, community members linked tight. And you saw the results. And we are so appreciative of that and the capacity that that's going to bring to this school district. And one of the difficulties of working our way up to the levy was we had these two realities staring at us, and they were polar opposites, black and white. And so it kind of suspended a lot of the work. And we woke up on May 17th and we said, okay, now we know. And then we had this avalanche of work. So we are pivoting now to looking at next year and the work to be done. And I just want to hit on a couple of pretty exciting highlights. We saw the work session today. We're very committed to working through a lot of the issues related to curriculum and standards-based grading and getting that kind of level set so that it represents a true partnership with our parents and with our school district staff. That's really, really important. We are working on improving handicap access at Sherwood High School. We are working on better signage at Sherwood High School so that when you go there and you want to watch a softball game, you don't walk 2.7 miles because you don't know where the parking for the softball field is. So we're working on some of those really concrete things that are going to make a big difference in regards to the quality of our facilities and programming. And then we're working on curriculum instruction things. We're very excited. One of the amazing things coming out of the pandemic to learn was how deep the learning loss and the behavioral supports that we're missing was for our middle school students. And for our middle school students, I mean, across this nation, middle schools have really been the hot spot coming out of the pandemic. And that's also the case here in Sherwood. We have incredible leadership and incredible teachers and staff at our middle school. And we are all in working together to really supercharge the experience next year. And that's really, really exciting. That's where I cut my teeth as an administrator, was at the middle school, as most of us here have. And that work is really impactful when you get it right. And we're excited about what next year is going to be in that regard. We have an overarching concept next year, which is somewhat thematic, but boy, what a good time if we've got the house in order, and that is to celebrate Sherwood schools. And there's a lot of ideas around that, but it kind of goes back to, we never really had an open house for Sherwood High School with the community because of the pandemic. Well, let's kind of reset some of those things, and let's celebrate the incredible things that are going on within our school district. So just an honor to be here. So appreciative of all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Director Carson, do you have a report tonight?
I do. Just to expand on the middle school experience, I experienced sixth grade parent night last week, and it was great. It was so great. The band was playing and they were duetting, they were singing "You Got a Friend in Me" while they played. It was delightful. Very well organized. I was excited about the new schedule that's coming out, the simplification of it. And my daughter is, she's nervous, but that's a good thing. Like it's not like no. So she's excited to be there. But and then the levy passed. Yay. I also won my election. So you're stuck with me for another 4 years. And I'll be taking over Jessica's seat, and I have enormous shoes to fill, and I will not fill them. I'm going to be upfront about that right now. I am not Jessica. I can only hope to be a partial Jessica for you all. But I just want to thank her for being so supportive of me. You've been just in my corner the whole time, and there's just no accounting for historical knowledge walking out the door, and you are full of it. And we appreciate you so much.
All right, Director Lee.
Yeah, I think I will just, my stint on the school board is 1 year. It was certainly an eventful year. I would say I'm not I would say ignorant of how my opinion, and I share my opinion. I am strong, and I believe in the opinions that I share, and I try to be as thoughtful as possible and share that as effective as possible. I would say that throughout this year, it may not be evident in when I share publicly, but my mind has been changed more often than it has not. And that goes to a lot of the people who speak here, communicating with the administration and learning and listening to other people. And I just I appreciate that. I've learned a lot. I came in and I did not know what to expect. We were thrown this curve with the financial things, and all things kind of went out the window, and there was a very different focus. And so I do appreciate, and I appreciate the people who are here. I appreciate the administration, especially the teachers and the I think of it as soldiers helping our children get through and learn and develop and grow. My kids are here at the school, and they spend, frankly, more time with you than they do me. So they are with you a lot, and they learn from you. They look to you as leaders, as mentors, and I appreciate that. And I can't tell you how much I admire our Sherwood's representation and Sherwood as a school district. So I thank you for that, and I thank you for the opportunity to serve on the school board, and all that I've learned, and I appreciate it. So thank you very much.
This feels very strange, because I've spent a lot of Wednesday nights here, over the last, 11, almost 12 years. And, this is the exception of a budget that I'm really looking forward to adopting, kind of the last one. And so this is feels a little strange. But I feel very blessed. This is the best volunteer gig ever. It's work. It's challenging, but you get to learn something new every time you come here. And I was appointed to the board when I first got on it. And when I was asked, why do you want to do this? And I said, because it's about the kids. And so that's what I've tried to make my time about. It's about our kids. Education is the great equalizer in our country, gives everyone a chance to pursue their dreams as wide and varied as they are. There's nothing that our kids can't do. And giving them that opportunity to learn and thrive and grow and find their people and find their thing. Gosh, it doesn't get any better than that. And it has been a real privilege to be able to do this work, to learn from the best educators in the state, to work with an administrative team that cares about kids and about getting it right. OSEA and SEA, who have been partners in this work, who we've been able to build relationships with so that we can all keep the kids at the center and work out fair agreements, but do that with the kids at the forefront. To see administrators sitting here who have helped my kids get through education and have been so supportive, and who have been patient with me as I've had endless questions, just so incredibly grateful. And you try and leave a place in a better spot than when you found it. So proud of the bonds we've been able to pass and this levy, which I'd like to take a minute and just say, statewide, about 27% of voters showed up, but in Sherwood for the levy, 50% of this community made their voices heard, and 58% of those said yes. We had a lot of first-time voters showing up for the first time to vote for the levy. And I just could not be more proud of them. I think that means we've got a lot of community buy-in. Even where people disagree, there were people that showed up and made their voice heard, and that's important. And now we have work to do. And I'll be doing it as a citizen, asking questions, asking for accountability, but as all of us to make sure that we deliver on those promises. Sherwood gave us the resources to save education as we know it in this community, and to be able to build on that is truly an honor. And just huge thank you to the voters for trusting, but verifying and making sure that we do the very best with those resources. So as Sue was talking, I am a band mom through and through. I'm spending my vacation this summer with a group of DCI kids marching around Northwest Pennsylvania. It'll be great fun. And because I can't get away from band kids, they're wonderful. But Sherwood has something called the Sherwood Way. And if you ever go into Brant Stye's classroom, you'll see that on the wall. I believe Casey Crane has the same thing in his, because it's one common thought. And that thought is, we aren't just about musical excellence, and they are about that, and truly Sherwood is about excellence in the classroom, on the field, in the theater, in the band room, in the kitchen, wherever you are. It's excellence is what we strive for, but it's also about character. It's how you come and participate. It's being kind. It's being inclusive. It's being welcoming. It's showing what excellence looks like, more than just doing well and then running around like a maniac. It's about doing what you're supposed to be doing all along the way. And I look at this board and we're about the Sherwood way, right? Come together, find a way to do it, work together and do the right thing, reach for excellence, but do it with character. And I've been privileged to serve with members in my entire span of existence here that have subscribed to this notion that it's not just about the fact that we're sitting here. It's about how we sit here. It's about how we center kids and this community and do the right thing. And I just, I'll be around for however I can support this district forever and always. It is given so much to my family who Sue aptly think, and I'm gonna start crying here if I spend much more time on that, but my family has made this service possible. They have served alongside me and I'm grateful for them. But I'm even more grateful for the teachers and the principals and the staff and everyone in this district that has supported my kids through tough times and great ones, in high achievements and really tough moments. I've been there for my family. And so being able to do this service has been just giving a small portion back in exchange for that. So however I can be of service, I just hope and pray for this board that we continue to model the Sherwood way, that we can agree and we can disagree in good times and in bad, but that we're going to do it with character and we're going to do it the right way. And we're going to keep our kids at the center. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to Director Lee for his service. And just thank you, all of you, for allowing me to serve here. It's been a privilege.
Sorry. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to follow that one up, but well, the end of what I think we all would call a very successful school year is here. First of all, congrats to all the seniors. I wish you the very best in whatever path it is you have chosen. And if you haven't chosen a path yet, please know that it's okay too. And it does not in any way diminish the great accomplishment of graduating and moving into adulthood. It's okay to take your time in finding your path in life. Do not put pressure on yourself to have it all figured out right now. Just do your best with a full heart in whatever it is that you are doing, and I promise that you will find your way. A huge, heartfelt thank you to the dedicated administration and staff that we have in this district. The passion and the joy that I see from so many of you makes me happy and blessed that my own kids attend school here. Sherwood is lucky to have all of you. Another huge and heartfelt thank you to Jessica and Jeff for all the time that you've dedicated to this district and all the work that you've done. That's all I'm going to say because I'll start. Please know that the Sherwood Booster Club really needs our help. This has been an incredibly successful organization over the years, and without it, Sherwood Athletics will not be the same. School funding has been a big topic this year, so it's important for the community to know that there is not enough funding from the state to support district athletes, and this is where our booster clubs come in. If you have kids that are in sports that will filter into the high school level, I highly suggest that you get involved because our athletes need your support. At the very least, please join me in attending the meeting this Sunday at Generations at 6 p.m. Even if you think you don't have a lot of extra time, you may find that at this meeting, there might be something that you can do to contribute. Our young athletes need you, and I hope to see you there. That's all I have to say for today.
All right. I know we've said all the things tonight. I know nobody else wants to labor on about the levy, but I do because it's over and we passed it and I'm so grateful. And I feel like we chugged along all year long, focused on it so hard. And we kind of said we'll sleep when it's over, and now it's over and I'm exhausted. So I'm thrilled that it's summer. I'm tired of making my kids lunches. So I'm tired of fighting with them about what to wear in the morning. I'm sure you guys are tired of dealing with them every single day. I feel like everyone is ready for a break. And I feel like this year has felt long because of this lift that's been on our plate. So I'm super grateful that everybody hung in there with us. I mean, we said from the very beginning that our mission was to make sure that people understood what was at stake, and that if we didn't pass, but they understood, then we would deal with that. But it turns out they understood and they supported us, and that feels very incredible. And I think that I hope the teachers in this district see that as a reflection of the work that they do with students every single day. So we're going to continue the work through the end of this school year and sometimes even into the summer. But I know I'm definitely ready for a break. You guys have definitely earned a break, and we'll return next year much more energized to continue on. We have a little bit to cover this evening, not too much. We have no public comment tonight, which is cool. We don't have any for the agenda now. We don't have any for tonight later on either. So we will move on past that. Up next, we will discuss our superintendent's evaluation. So we put him through a very rigorous end of the year evaluation. No, but in all seriousness, the directors on this board all got the opportunity to answer some survey questions that pertain to his goals. Dr. Lyon, let's see, I wrote it all down, so I made sure to respond to all the things. It was reflected in the survey results that Dr. Lyon performed in his role at an exemplary level during the 22-23 school year, as I'm sure everyone has witnessed. Superintendent Lyon received cumulative ratings of either a 3 or 4, which 4 was the highest rating, in each of the measured areas, with 100% of us scoring him as a 4, which means we strongly agreed on 11 out of 14 items. That's pretty amazing to get rave reviews on every single item that you're being reviewed on. Furthermore, there was an opportunity to respond to some open-ended questions about Dr. Lyon's performance. Board members indicated that Dr. Lyon has done a tremendous job leading our district by making every effort to engage with his staff, the board of directors, and community stakeholders. I think anybody in this room would attest to that you have been available and willing and made every single effort. I know every single time I have come to you, you have said, let's book a meeting. We'll find a meeting. We'll book a, whatever it is, a public meeting. So you have most definitely demonstrated that with all of us. Furthermore, it was said he is a transparent leader who openly and willingly communicates and takes swift action to make change where it is needed. Again, something that all of us have seen demonstrated time and time again. He has immersed himself in our district and quickly become a well-known leader in Sherwood. His engagement with our community has been nothing short of admirable. This year, the district faced incredible challenges, and he led our district with dignity and grace. I know I speak for all of us when I say that we are proud to have you leading our district, and we look forward to our work together with you this next year. And truly, I mean, I can't tell you, I didn't put this in here, but
It's not enough.
it doesn't feel like it's enough. And I can't tell you how many people have come up to me and said, just that they know who you are and they recognize you. And I know that may seem small because we are a small town, but in our community, it hasn't always been the case that you see your leaders wherever you are at. And so many times this year, I had people say to me, was that Dr. Lyon at that homecoming parade? Was that Dr. Lyon that was just at the basketball game? I mean, you are everywhere, and at Rotary meetings and at community meetings and working with leaders all across our district. And it's a tremendous amount of work. We have conversations sometimes at 9 o'clock at night and at 6 a.m. So, I mean, it is a lot of work. It is a lot of time. It was a lot to come into our district, and I'm sure it will be a lot to continue to lead all of us, but we hope that this next year is much easier than the first. We hazed you. So thank you very much. And his evaluation is included in all of our paperwork if anybody's interested in taking a look, but I think he definitely speaks for himself at all of our meetings. And we are very proud to have you lead us. Absolutely. Sorry, if you didn't feel like that was enough, you can jump in.
It's, when you
I know
just feel-
Patrick.
when you feel so highly, it's like you just want to keep going, right? And giving but I can say that this past year, since you began, I myself have learned so much. And that's a huge testament to your willingness to lead and engage. And I think that we've talked at 10 o'clock at night and 6 in the morning, and you're always there and willing to have a conversation and to engage. Whether it's, something tough or something easy, something collaborative, you are not one to shy away from any of that. And that is what a good leader is somebody who's always willing to communicate. And so I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful for that. And a lot gets accomplished through, communication is the foundation of everything, right? So obviously there's a lot more to you than your outstanding communication skills, but I just wanted to at least speak to that because I'm really grateful for that. I'm really grateful for that.
All right, well, you get to keep your job, Mr. President. You get to hang in there with us a little longer. If I'd known Patrick was such a good speechwriter, like I would have had him write it for me, but like I didn't know. Okay, the next item we have, the first action item is a revision to the 2023-24 district calendar. Thank you, Mr. Emmert.
Thank you. Good evening once again. So in 2021, the board approved this year's district calendar and next year's district calendar. And due to the need to increase instructional hours for all students, but mainly for our seniors, we need to make a few revisions to next year's 2023-24 district calendar. On the revised version, you'll see the following changes. New Staff Academy moves from 3 days to 2 days. And that allows us to start in-service week 1 day earlier on August 23rd. That also allows us to start school 1 day earlier on August 30th. On August 12th, which was originally planned as a professional development day, we will host students. That'll be a regular school day. And then we'll make up that professional development on 2 half days. 2 days that would be typically early release days. November 1st and April 10th. Those will be half school days for students, and then the other half will be professional development for teachers. We adjusted the end of trimesters 1 and 2 just to balance the trimesters. So we adjusted them by just a few days. And then the seniors' last day moves from June 4th to June 5th. That will move the students' last day then from June 13th to June 12th. So even though they start a day earlier, they also end a day earlier. We remain within the number of contract days. And so nothing changes there, but it does give us 1 more day for grades K through, or grades 1 through 11, and 3 more days for seniors, where we have typically struggled to meet instructional hours. So this will make sure that we're in compliance for our next school year. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Could you clarify for us? I think you said August 12th and maybe meant September 12th.
October
October
12th.
12th.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, are we clear on that? Yeah. Wonderful. All right. Is there a motion to adopt the 2023-24 revised district calendar as presented?
Yeah, all right. So just really hopeful that we can widely publicize the change in return date because families make decisions about vacations very early. And so just making sure that everybody knows to get their kids back a day early would be good. And then the other thing is, so at the same time we're doing that, if we can help families know when back to school night is and when they can pick up their locker schedules and all of those things, because that inevitably floods the community pages about the beginning of August and no one seems to be able to figure out where all that is. So the sooner we can communicate that, the better. The less the new board members will have to get on there and clarify. So with that, Madam Chair, I move that we adopt the revised May 2023, 2024 revised district calendar. That was a lot of revised.
Excellent. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Wonderful. All those in favor of adopting the 23-24 revised district calendar?
Aye.
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 Wonderful. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, up next, we have Marlene Carroll. She's here for a second read of the secondary math instructional materials.
All right. Thank you, Board Chair Hawkins, Dr. Lyon, board members. I'm going to start with math. So last month, we shared the recommendation for secondary mathematics instructional materials, grades 6 through 12. On May 16th, we hosted an instructional materials review night and received generally positive feedback about the materials. We did have one parent reach out to us via email, and they shared the need for homeschool connections, whether it's these materials or other materials, and so that they could support the learning that was happening in the classroom regularly. So tonight we are bringing the secondary mathematics instructional materials recommendation up for second read and adoption.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we adopt the recommended secondary mathematics instructional materials as listed under action item 7B.
Wonderful. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, go ahead and move along to your language arts.
Okay. Last month, we also shared a recommendation for a partial K-12 language arts instructional materials adoption. We hosted the same review night for language arts, and we had generally positive feedback. Families shared that they really wanted the choice and they wanted all the book selections available early for their students. And we have shifted practices since then to include them in syllabi, and we will be working this summer to get them on our website. So you could read all the books far in advance for your children. Throughout this process, families shared that they wanted choice in literature, and that was the same thing that we heard at that review night. In all, there were about 9 families who attended and gave that feedback. We received no responses in our survey that went out to families. Tonight, we are bringing the partial K-12 language arts instructional materials recommendation up for second read and adoption.
Thank you. Briefly, I also just want to thank you. I know that you always do these curriculum nights, but I know that adjustments were made after hearing from parents saying, we'd like to hear more in advance. We'd like a list. We'd like to be able to have that opportunity. And I really appreciate, and I know all of us up here really appreciate that you guys heard that and made that change. And I hope parents hear that. The parents who've been asking, I hope they hear that that change is there for them. And so that they are able to go look at those books and have those conversations and make choices for their own student. We want that for you and they want that for you. And so we appreciate your work in doing that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, is there a motion?
I'd like to ask one quick question.
Sure.
All right, so I just want to clarify, if I'm a parent and I am able to look at the books and read them over the summer, and I've got 2 or 3 or whatever that are concerning to me, and my child isn't ready for those books, am I able to communicate that to whoever is teaching my child language arts and say, of the books that are on this list, these are not ones that I want my child to choose, and that will be honored? I just want to be really clear for the record on that point.
Yes, that is clear. And in addition to that, we can flag those books because we all know how students are. Just because the teacher and the parent are on the same page, they can still go to the media center and check it out perhaps. And so those books will be flagged in the child's media center record, and they won't be able to check them out in our buildings as well.
Thank you. With that, Madam Chair, I move that we adopt the recommended partial English language arts instructional materials as listed under action item 7C.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion?
Yes, I have some things to say. So first, bear with me, I did write this down so I would not get off track. Before I say more, I want to say first that I am extremely grateful for the extensive dialogue, countless meetings and work that not only goes into all curriculum adoptions, but also in this case of the specific case of the partial ELA curriculum adoption. The dialogue between us has been fantastic. I appreciate all the meetings, all the communication. The strides that the district has made after listening to parents' concerns over transparency are huge. Between the upcoming rollout of the library and classroom online catalog system so that parents can access what books are in the school libraries and classrooms, to the process available to parents should they want a book reconsidered, to the advanced communication that will begin from teachers to parents regarding classroom book club assignments. These are all commendable and appreciated steps in the right direction to the parent engagement and transparency that we as a district have not only promised, but have so often heard is heavily desired. In no way should the following feedback be misconstrued as anything but that. It is feedback that is based on both my own experience, extensive work, and research. My work together with fellow board members, Dr. Lyon, Marlene Carroll, as well as the continued feedback received from parents and students alike with regards to the content of some of the books contained in our ELA curriculum. Children look to us adults to respect and protect and preserve their childhood and innocence. As adults, we know that without fail, life struggles will eventually come to meet us. I am of the belief that when you let kids be kids for the very short time that they get to be kids, and to develop emotionally at their own individual pace, that they will be well equipped to meet life struggles and complications and challenges. There is no need to rush the trivial and controversial and complicated upon them through books that are either age inappropriate or just plain inappropriate in nature. This is why I strongly feel that there are select books contained within this curriculum adoption that need further review, as after reading them, it is evident that they do not belong in an educational setting. Yes, I have read and researched these books over the past year and a half, and so I speak on this topic with direct knowledge. Mainly, my research on these books has focused on the 6th to 9th grade levels. I have worked extensively with members of both our board and executive team to show my findings. So this, along with the multitude of parent feedback on this very topic, is why I am disappointed to see that out of the thousands of books that are available to us, that books with the following content would be included for our adoption. Keep in mind, like I said before, these are only books in the 6th to 9th grade levels, so therefore given to 11 to 14-year-olds. A parent murdering another parent in front of the child, violence and bringing explosive into a school, domestic violence, teen boys drugging girls and assaulting them, abortion, making fun of Christianity, normalizing drinking and driving, normalizing casual sex, suicide attempts, explicit heterosexual and homosexual sex scenes, including rape, and normalizing self-harm, just to name a few. Right now, I'm working on challenging a book in the high school that gives details of a young transgender boy who describes performing oral sex at the age of 6 on other 6-year-olds. Why? Why would a book of this nature be in a public school? Who gave us the authority to expose minors, regardless of their age, to this type of content? To date, I have yet to hear any reasonable argument on why books of this nature should be in our classrooms and deemed as educational. I've heard the argument that these books are good for some kids because some kids will relate to them. Okay, let's say that's a valid argument to provide these books then to all students. Then where are the books like Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis or Women of the Bible by Shannon Breen? Or if we want the violence, Fox's Book of Martyrs. My point is, are there not enough engaging and enlightening books to choose from that don't contain these not only inappropriate content, but also content that goes against the beliefs and values of so many? Again, who gave us the authority to interfere with family values and belief systems and provide this material to other people's kids while they're at school? Will some parents find these books perfectly okay? Sure. This is where the public library comes in. If a student and their family feel this content is right for them to read, these books can be found there. But I do not agree with using district funds, taxpayer funds, to provide these books with this content in our schools. And before it's said, I will address it. This is not about banning books. A common accusation nowadays when a book in the educational system is questioned by anyone. This is about treating our kids and their families with the respect that they deserve. Many of the kids who have picked up these books have no idea as to the content they are about to read due to the misleading title and summaries. One of my own kids is direct proof of that. Why would we ever want to put them in that position? And how presumptuous of us to assume that they would be okay reading it. Ahead of this session, since it was suggested that I was being disrespectful with an 11th hour surprise vote, and that this will make me look like I don't support teachers, I want to address that concern in the event that anyone listening has those same concerns. This suggestion could not be further from the truth. First, I have engaged in conversations with members of our executive team and board beginning more than a year ago, with most of it being in the last month between the first read and this meeting. So my thoughts on this should in no way be a surprise. Second, is this not the meeting where we vote? So yes, I am in fact doing this right on time, not in the 11th hour. Third, in what way is this disrespectful? Because I disagree? So disagreement is now disrespect? Respectfully, I disagree with that statement. Lastly, I support teachers, very much so. So much so that I don't want them having to spend additional time responding to yet again more angry emails from parents about the content their students are reading at school. They have enough to do already. Why burden them with having to defend a decision that they possibly did not make? So to accuse me or suggest any of these things after the extensive, exhaustive, and extremely communicative work that I have put into this is nothing, I feel, but an attempt to silence me for fear of simply using my voice and my vote, which is exactly what I was elected to do. So with that said, Madam Chair, I move that we amend motion 7C to reflect that we adopt the recommended partial language arts instructional materials, excluding the 6th grade and the 9th grade book club materials, so that these materials can be fully reviewed by a committee that consists of board members, parents, and staff in a timely fashion, and to have these materials be revisited at the September board meeting.
Is there a second?
I will second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Motion dies 3-2. Christine, do you need to know who's who? Roll call. Okay. So we are going to return back to the prior motion. What? Oh.
Aye.
Go ahead.
The discussion's still on the board.
For the same motion?
For the original motion, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Correct. Would you like to say
Yes, I
something?
would.
Go ahead.
All right. So I've been thinking about some of this as well. And we had the first reading and I had some questions during the first meeting as well. I was thinking about things and I was brought to some research that came to my mind. They did a research several years ago in which what they did is they were trying to test the impact of one's expectations of bias. And what they did is they had these women and they marked them up and put these marks of like scars on their face. And then they had them go and they looked at it and they rated the scars and they saw themselves in the mirror. And then what they were going to do is have them go and do an interview and assess and provide feedback on how the interviewer treated them. And what they did is before they left, they did some touch up. And during that touch up, what they did is remove those marks without telling and without letting the participants know. Those same participants, what they did is they went to these interviews and reported as though they had those marks on them. They reported higher degrees of remarks and comments looking at their scars. Even some of them reported some biases and some concerns about this. Now, none of them had these marks on them. So this was merely born out of their own sense of bias and self-consciousness. Now, there was a assessment on those who are most vulnerable and rated their scars as the most self-conscious, actually reported the most negative comments or thoughts about from the other interviewer. Now, I think about our children in the ages of 10 to 15 years old and how they're looking out into their world for feedback on who they are. They're looking for where they get their information, some of their morals, trying to identify where they stand in relationship to their peers, to their family, and to other beliefs. I'm brought to a book that I learned was in the middle school until just last week. I want to read you an excerpt of this. This is from this book. I was sexually mature. What I mean by sexually mature is that I knew about sex. From 6 up, I used to kiss other guys in my neighborhood, make out with them, and perform oral sex on them. I liked it. I used to love oral, and I touched their you-know-whats. We were really young, but that's what we did. I was making out with girls too. I used to love making out with girls because everybody thought I was cool. Everybody was encouraging me. Look, Frank's not gay, he's making out with a girl. They wanted to know how the hell I learned to kiss like that. I didn't know how I learned. What exactly is the educational component for that? Is this a Sherwood standard? This was in middle school until last week. And I looked it up, is in high school at this currently. So what exactly is this standard and what's the educational component to this? I find this frankly appalling. Now, we have this process and my main concern is that we have these impressionable children and we have this process of this inclusion of these books. It goes through a committee, presumably, then they're put into the library, and then somebody has to read these books. Most often it's the children who are reading these books. So a child would have to know and read this before it was even brought to our attention. So somebody would have to be exposed to this. And then by some committee that is later formed, you can appeal to try to get this book out of the school system. Now, this is, I find, is lacking and a real problem because now a child in our school district would have to be exposed to that, or a parent would happen to have to come by it or read over it or take their time during the summer to read in this and happen to find this book in our library before a child does. I find this is a flaw in the system, and that's why I think it's necessary to develop a more thorough rating system. Now, there's been talk about these cautions of banning books. And I find that an interesting argument because we all agree in principle of banning books. I'll give you an example. In 2010, the book A Pedophile's Guide to Love and Pleasure with Young Children was published. Now, there's no way that would ever be included in a school. Or at least I would hope not. And that would certainly be banning a book. So we agree that in principle, some books should not be in our school system or in our school libraries. I asked last week, very specifically, or not last week, during the first reading, very specifically, what is the exclusion criteria? What would get a book so it is not in in our library, in our school system? Apparently this book was in our library system, so it passed that exclusionary system. I'm going to look up, this did a rating. Let me see if I can find the page. Here we go. In this book, 2 counts of the word ass or references to ass, 10 counts of the references to dick, 2 counts to dyke, 10 counts to fag or faggot, 15 references to fuck, 8 references to piss, 3 references to pussy, and 9 references to shit. And that was in addition to a lot of the stuff that I just read, because some of what I just read wasn't even counted on this. So if that doesn't reach an exclusion criteria, what does? Because the question I asked was very specific and it wasn't answered. We have to have an exclusion criteria in our school system. We have a policy in how to form a committee to exclude a book or to get a book out of the system, but we still don't have the specific criteria listed. What criteria do we base this off of? What are our community criteria? So this is my concern. And it would have been nice to have had some time to form a committee and some policies around this, because I'm worried that there will be more books that come into this. Now, my hope is that this was an anomaly. But the problem is it's still in our school system. It is at the Sherwood High School right now. I looked it up this morning. Why are our students being exposed? What is the educational value to this? My hope as I'm walking out the door on the school board is that the new board and the administration will put something together that will prevent something like this and our children being exposed to something like this in the future.
I'd like to offer a short but slightly different perspective, because I think, like so many things we talk about up here, it's really hard to get a sense of the work that we do when we're not sitting at this table. I myself, making myself vulnerable, don't always love to hear some of the excerpts that are brought to me. I haven't had a problem myself with my own child coming home with something, but certainly there's things that get read aloud to me that I think I don't want my child to read that. That does not thrill me. I can understand why a parent would feel that way. I can understand, because I know Director Thorne well, what her values are and why she feels the way she feels. We share many of the same values. So I can respect why she stands firm behind her values on that. And I can respect why you feel the way you feel as well. But I also can respect Marlene. And I also respect her team. And I also feel, well, I don't just feel, I know that I am not a literary expert. And I do know, because I respect them and I trust them, that they are putting countless hours into these conversations about what should be included and what should not be included. It's very easy to take a book, and some are going to disagree with me, and read an excerpt and say that entire book is useless. That entire book is not good. But there are going to be 100 English teachers who will say right after that, wow, you just discounted everything else that book had to teach that student, or everything else that they were learning. So I'm not going to be able to go read every single book, and I'm not trained to understand what is valuable and what is not valuable. So I'm going to trust the people who do that work. I have a lot of respect because we have had those conversations in just this short amount of time, which I know you've been working for a long time, but really only in the last couple of months, we've had conversations regularly. Well, really these two have, and I've just seen them, about What can be done? How can we make sure parents are aware? How do we let them know sooner? How do we let them know more clearly? How can we make the list longer? How can we make it more accessible? I mean, these questions have come up, and every time they really have gotten answered. And I don't know why your specific question maybe didn't get an answer yet, but these are tough things to ask. And sometimes it does require many things to be put in place for it all to work the way that we'd like it to work, or maybe a parent at home would like it to work. But I have witnessed responses that are more than satisfactory from this team. And I know that these are not books that are required of my student to read. So there is some onus on you as a parent to be involved. And for me, that does mean looking over the book list. For me, that does mean having a conversation with my student about what I think is acceptable for them to read and what's not acceptable. And I don't believe in my heart of hearts that passing this means our conversation ends. I don't think that's what it means for Marlene. I don't think that's what it means for Dr. Lyon. I don't think that they are saying, hey, we're going to get this one by you. And then guess what? We get to keep all these really sneaky, naughty books. That's not what this feels like to me. To me, this feels like we've done a ton of work. We've also really come to the table and tried to continue this work with you. And we will continue this work with you beyond this. Director Thorne brought up this idea to me of doing this work over the summer and coming back with this book list in September. And I appreciate the idea behind trying to come up with a really proactive solution. My hesitancy was, can that work really be done over the summer? We're about to go on break and teachers go on break. And what does that mean? And can we answer that call and do that the right way between now and September? And so I think to some degree, when the 11th hour is mentioned, it's really just the idea that we can form that committee 11th hour. It's not that your concerns are 11th hour, because certainly they're not. But I think the idea that we can resolve this really quickly and figure this out, it's hard, right? I mean, I don't know that Marlene knows the demands of her own team to answer that question tonight. So that is just my perspective, that I feel like we still have work to do. Certainly, we still have work to do if we need to define for our board as well as our parents and our teachers what does classify excluding a book. And that's work we need to continue to work on. But I am comfortable because of the work that they've returned to me over the last several months. So it's just a different perspective that I want to be able to share.
Madam Chair, if I may, I would like to explain my vote on the previous motion a little bit. I really appreciate Director Thorne and the immense amount of work that she has put into this. The advocacy she has done to try and bring additional transparency, and a lot of the things that she talked about that are a really important improvement. I think it is absolutely essential that parents engage in knowing what their kids are reading. And no matter what the book is, there are life lessons and larger conversations that come from reading. That's the hope. I mean, that's the joy, right? Is you read the book and you have this family dialogue. I mean, maybe we're just super nerds in the Adamson household, but we love that. That's what we do over dinner. And I really appreciate that there are varied perspectives in this community about where individual kids are, what subject matter parents are comfortable having their kids read. And it gets to be really hard when we get towards the end of middle school and in high school, when kids are developing at all different ages and stages, and trying to do the work that Marlene and her team have done, and teachers reading hundreds of books, trying to figure out how do we put together a list that gives every kid multiple choices of books that meet their level, that are the varied options that will engage and excite them in reading, while also making sure that they are developmentally appropriate. We use a third-party entity to help us, measure what the content is, making sure parents understand what that is, being more, I think all of that, the tremendous step forward. And I appreciate the work that Director Thorne has done. And I appreciate her sharing her perspective about books that she is uncomfortable having in our schools. I come to this a little bit differently. I just have a different perspective. I think I trust our teachers. I trust the work that the teaching and learning team has done to really try and build a varied list. And I think it is very true that there are books on that list that some parents are not going to be comfortable with their kids reading. And that's why I asked the question I did about how do we make sure that if a parent says, this is not for my kid, or I'm not comfortable with my kid reading this book, that we ensure that there's not, access, that the kid's not somehow going around and getting that within our school system. I think that that's important parent engagement, and I fully 100% support that. But I also believe that it would be impossible in this community to try and build a list of books that meet the educational goals that we're trying to achieve and that contain zero offensive content for anybody. We may get to a list that works for me, but that list may look different for what works for Director Thorne or Director Hawkins than the folks sitting in this audience, and trying to generate a list that will meet that standard, I think is really unlikely to be attainable. So as I look at it, and the reason I voted no on that is because I do think we have reached a list where there are multiple choices for every child and their family to find something that's going to work for them. We've got safeguards in place to make sure that if it's a book that contains content that a parent is uncomfortable with, that kid will not be reading that as part of the book club. They won't be forced to read it. There is a process to recall books if folks feel like this is not an appropriate title. That said, I know that our librarians and our teaching and learning team and our teachers work to make sure that the books that are in their classrooms, the books that are available to kids, are intellectually appropriate and meet the right developmental age range, and don't just have violence and sex and that kind of thing for dramatic effect, but that are, as we talked about at the last meeting, and I believe in response to Director Lee's question, there are going to be books like the Tales of Huckleberry Finn that include language that none of us would view appropriate to include in a book today, but in its historical context, it leads to a conversation that is beneficial to understanding the time and the context, not to encourage kids to use that language, but to understand what that language meant in that period of time. There are books like that that'll be in our libraries. Will mistakes occur from time to time? Probably. That's why we have that process of recalling books. But as I heard it from Marlene and her team, the exclusion criteria today is, to what extent is that kind of more shocking material necessary, and to what extent is it gratuitous? And if it's gratuitous, it's not part of the conversation. So I appreciate the responsiveness to questions, and I appreciate the work that your team has put in. This is a multi-year process, and there's no, again, I just don't think that it's possible for us to reach a point where we find a list that everyone agrees on and no one finds objectionable content in it or disagrees. So knowing that that is a reality, finding a set of criteria, a set of books that in which each kid can find more than one title that will work for them, and that families can find more than one title that works for them and that they're comfortable having their kids read. I think that is the goal that we should achieve, in addition to transparency and the ability to keep kids from reading books with which their parents disagree that they're ready for. So my vote was a no, because I think we've achieved that balance here. I think there's opportunity to continue the conversation. And frankly, I was very concerned about a timeline. If we're going to publicize a list to the community, people need a chance to read that over the summer and make decisions for their family. Teachers need to be able to be sure what their lesson plans are gonna be for book club and which books will be on that list. And then, you know, last but not least, it's a simple practical thing of we need to be able to order the books on time. So if we're deciding in September, can we have the books to us, enough books for our district on time so that kids can actually do the work in the first trimester? These are all things that just were on my mind as I took that vote. Context is important. And that's, you know, so when I hear excerpts of books, it always makes me think, what's the context for that? No one's trying to get, I do not believe that our outstanding educators in this district are trying to inappropriately expose kids to literature that is inappropriate for them. There's a list of books for a reason. If you're concerned as a parent, the most important thing you can do is get involved, get engaged, and communicate with your teachers, with your kids' teachers. That is just the best way to do that. We've been asked to be more transparent, and we're doing that. And I am happy to support this motion.
I'll just do a quick follow-up because everyone has said a lot of what I've already thinking, but this adoption, it just feels like it's not complete as it is. We're still in the process of cataloging personal teacher libraries and setting up scanner systems for them to be able to check out books. We're in the middle of, you know, still collaborating on like, how do we shore up the policy of how books even get in the library to start with? And then how does that affect the review process going forward? And how far does that review process go? Does it go all the way up to the board? Finding, you know, getting really into the weeds of that process. So I absolutely appreciate the collaboration from Director Thorne and Director Lee. I think we need to keep these conversations going, and the transparency and the fact that we are giving some ownership back to the parents of being involved in the reading material for their children. You can simply email your teacher and say, do not let my child read this. Done. We're not saying that it's required reading material in any way. So I hope that the collaboration between teachers and parents of what is appropriate for their child extends into the years to come, and that we kind of shore up this kind of new way of thinking, because it really is something that kind of developed out of COVID about book banning and the hot topic of that. And we just saw it come out of Canby and Westland Wilsonville. And I think we're just trying to get ahead of it for Sherwood ourselves. And so I think we're headed in the right path, and we just need to stay transparent and working together.
All right, if there's no further discussion, we're going to return to the prior motion. We had a first and a second, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 3-2. All right, the next meeting will be held on June 21st, 2023 for the purpose of the 23-24 budget public hearing. The next regular business meeting of the board will be held on July 26th. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.